Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom malachei hashalom malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. Hello out there in YouTube world.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Our first Shabbat in 2021. Goodbye, 2020. Bye-bye. Bye, 2020. Hello, 2021. So thrilled to be with you on this fine Shabbat evening. Temperature is really chilly outside, coats and scarves and... No, sorry. Wrong place, wrong climate. No. But it did drop to under 80. So, which you know what that means, Uggs for everyone that goes outside. So that's what happens. So you might notice that Cantor Muchnick is here in the Zoom room. Hello, Cantor Muchnick. Hello.
Hello.
And the Markovskis are also in our Zoom room. So exciting. Woo! Lucas becoming bar mitzvah tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. Congregation B'nai Israel, Boca Raton, Florida. Pretty awesome. Woo! It's gonna be very exciting. Yeah. So the Markovskis are gonna help us out with a couple of really beautiful rituals as we begin our service. If you, by the way, you are tuning in for the first time, hello. I'm Rabbi Keller. There's a Munchnik over here, over there. And then the Markovskis in my window or underneath, but I don't know how it's in your window. You can go to our virtual prayer book. If you have a physical one, awesome. If you want a virtual one, you can go to our website, cbiboca.org is where you're going to go. And you're going to hit at the top, it says worship. Under worship, there's Shabbat. Under Shabbat, there'll be something, go a little lower there, and there'll be another link that says virtual prayer book. Go there. And then under the virtual prayer book, there's another option that says Shabbat. Hit that one. And then it's easier than I'm explaining it. It's very easy. Just go to the website, worship, Shabbat, and then you'll see it. So then you can pray along and chant along and be present with us throughout our 4 to 5 hour service that we have planned for you this evening. We can't start though until we light our Shabbat candles. And so we're going to do that. So whatever prayer book you have, whether it's a virtual one or a real one, we're beginning on page 2 is where we're going to start. And we're going to invite officially Lisa to light our Shabbat candles for us, and then Charlie and Chloe too, since they're also there. Matt's also there, and Lucas is also. The Markovskis are going to light Shabbat candles for us officially. So that's on page 2.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushani b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Now that the candles are lit, it is officially Shabbat. The sun's down, officially Shabbat. Nice. You can sort of let that week let us go. And in this case, for some of us, the year let go on this first day of 2021 in our secular year. And so to bring in this year and to bring in our Shabbat, not only are the candles lit and bringing the light into our lives, but we're also going to have some sweetness of our Kiddush. So we are going to have Matt and Lucas lead us in the Kiddush. This is on page 5, if you'd like to follow along on page 5 virtually or in your physical book, page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho me'ahava u'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron le'maseh bereshit ki hu yom techila le'mikra'ei kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta v'yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen. L'chaim.
Chaim. I went to rabbinic school with a guy named Chaim, and his wife's name is Jenny. So every time we say L'chaim, we also said to Jenny. So L'chaim and to Jenny. That's what happened at school. So L'chaim and Jenny. So now we're officially official. Our candles are lit. The sweetness of Shabbat are on our lips. And so let's continue that momentum into bringing in the Sabbath bride into our midst. The Sabbath bride sort of shows up, gives us this extra soul, this extra time of enjoyment during these 25 hours of Shabbat, where we get to, where the food maybe tastes better, the rest seems a little bit deeper, the prayers seem a little more focused. And so we're going to continue welcoming that bride officially with Lecha Dodi. That is on page 20 and 21 in your prayer books, in your Sidurim. We're going to be doing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. 1, 2, 5, and 9. We'll continue with Lecha Dodi, page 20.
שמור וזכור בדיבורך, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ותפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה. מראש מקדם נשוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, כי לאורך קומי אורי. אורי שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
So Shlomo Halevi, who wrote that poem, Lecha Dodi, helps us bring in our bride. So now that a bride's in our midst, and we feel connected to Shabbat through Kabbalat Shabbat, through lighting of Shabbat candles, through the sipping of our wine and our sweetness, we get to continue with our service with Chatzi Kaddish, which is on page 26.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, אמן. בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומייכון וחיי תכל בית ישראל. בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם לעולמי הלמיה. יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי דקדשה בריחו לילה מן כל בחטאה ושירתה. תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ואמרו Amen.
We continue now with our call to worship with our Baruch Hu. This is the blessing that we say when we stand together in our sanctuary. And so maybe we are ever closer to that moment where we get to do that. We've been saying that for quite a while now, month after month after month, week after week, saying, God willing, God willing. And so maybe we're inching closer now that we're in 2021, and there's a vaccine out there now. And so God willing, we'll be able to be standing together during the Baruch Hu. Since we are still in our virtual mode right now, in our safe virtual mode, when we continue with the Baruch Hu now, it's up to you if you wish to stand or to be seated since you're in your house. So it is up to you as we continue with the Baruch Hu, page 28.
Lai 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 Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam ba'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam ba'ed. Lai 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 lai
We continue now with thanking God for making night. And so if you're following along in your prayer book, in your Siddur, you can follow along virtually as we read on the top of page 31. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars, creator of the tide of time and light. You guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. And as we will momentarily enter the Shema, just not yet, we do it with a sense of love. And so we continue on page 33, at the bottom of the page, wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol, all these things your Torah gives to us, and the more devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo, Israel. We continue Shema, page 34, 35.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
Ve'ahavta, page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
As we traveled in our service, like we do for every service, we go from the Baruch Hu, from that call to worship, we move into the idea of creation, and we are appreciative of all the things that are created for us and that continually are created for us in our lives. We move on to this idea of our revelation, this moment that we get to connect with God and spend with God and interact with God. And then we move on to our redemption, where we truly hope that one day we'll be fully redeemed, completely, not just as a Jewish people, of course, but as a globe. Wouldn't that be nice if we were all ultimately redeemed? And so as we think of that redemption, we continue with the song of redemption, Mi Chamocha. That's on page 40.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. בחוטך ראובנך, בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף Adonai Himloch Leolam Va'ed.
So it's winter, and even though we joked at the beginning of our service that we had scarves and mittens, which we don't because we're in Florida, it's still winter. And when winter shows up, it gets a little darker a little earlier. Look, it's only 6:40 and it's pitch black outside. And so the rabbis experienced this as well. The rabbis who wrote all of our liturgy, all of the pieces that connect for us into our service, and they too noticed that it was dark. And they didn't have street lights, and they didn't have flashlights and things that glowed and illumined their way. And so they needed to really connect deeply to the presence and the sheltering of God, like we should also. Even though we have those flashlights and those lights, we should be appreciative for the canopy that God provides over all of us of safety. In the words of the Hashkivenu, where God shelters us. And so we continue with those words, Hashkivenu, page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom Ve'hamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom Ve'hamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim. Ushmol Tzeiteinu Uvoeinu Lechaim Shalom Me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom Ve'hamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom Ve'hamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim.
We continue now with the Amidah. The Amidah, of course, connects us immediately to our forefathers and our foremothers. I'll talk about it briefly during some of the little Dvar Torah I'll give in a few minutes, but also tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. there's Torah study for you to attend. 10 a.m. Markovsky celebration. Beautiful moment of sharing of Torah with the Markovsky family. But at 9 o'clock, there's also some learning, and we'll talk about what we'll talk about. Not me, I think Rabbi Cohen will be talking about is probably, or at least touch on this idea that our book of the Torah ends this week. And not only does the whole book comes to a close, and in that closing, by the way, is when we say bye to the ancestors we're about to talk about in the Amidah. We mention their names every single time we pray, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but that whole lineage, all the way down to Joseph, actually, all die in this book. And so it's not, starting next week, it's all Moses the whole time. And so as we begin the Amidah, and we say the words Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Sarah, Rivkah, Rachel, and Leah, when we talk about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, particularly this week, think about them even more deeply than you usually would, because we're not going to really see them. I mean, we'll see them in our liturgy, but we won't see them in our Torah as vividly as we do now until next year. So we're continuing with the Amidah that can be found and begins on page 46. Again, this is one of those stand if you'd like We would stand if we were together, but you can remain seated if you like, or stand. Amidah begins 46.
Adonai, Sifata Tiftachu Fi Yagi Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotzeinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov. Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol Ha'yibur Me'adon Ra, El Elyon. Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chasei Avot Ve'imahot, Umevi גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. תומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני בחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We continue now with our own silent prayers and thoughts and meditations. If you'd like to follow along in the prayer book, we begin that on page 52 and go through page 62. But again, whether you choose to use the words of your heart or the words of the Siddur, we continue now with silent prayer.
Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Ki Atahu Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom Ki Atahu Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam V'tov b'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Tasim Leolam Tasim Leolam
When you've ever attended some kind of graduation, really of any kind, for preschool, elementary school, high school, college, grad school, you saw one on TV, there's usually certain things that are standard. So there are usually caps, there are gowns, there are tassels, some kind of a speaker of some kind of an auditorium. Well, more complicated this year, but traditionally there's some kind of auditorium where people go. And then there's the ever famous song, right? The song that everyone knows that plays at graduations, which is called Pomp and Circumstance.
Pomp and Circumstance.
Indeed, yes. So now, where does this come from? You might ask. You were thinking this morning when you were thinking, wow, I want to be at services tonight. I hope Rabbi Keller talks about pomp and circumstance, and I hope he tells me more about this song. So lucky for you, here I am telling you about this song. So Sir Edward Elgar composed Pomp and Circumstance. The title comes from a line, by the way, in Shakespeare's Othello, is the where it comes from, in 1901. But it wasn't originally intended for graduations. Actually, Elgar's march was used for the coronation of King Edward VII. Interesting. It first became associated with graduations in 1905, so written in 01, using graduations in 05, when it was played when Elgar himself received an honorary doctorate from Yale. And so, but it was played as a recessional, not as a processional in the ceremony. It wasn't then until after Yale used it, then Princeton used it, and then University of Chicago used it, and then Columbia used it, and then that was it. So once those schools used Pomp and Circumstance for their graduations, done. It became the thing. And so now to this day, you attend a graduation. Yeah, so that's Pomp and Circumstance. I didn't do it well. Probably should let Kendra much more. everyone's trying to wave to each other. You know, there's like 10,000 people in the auditorium, and the grandparents are waving, and they're like, "Yeah, I can't see you." But
Almost.
anyway, yeah, that was actually perfect. So why bring up pomp and circumstance? Because graduations are fascinating. They're very interesting events because they're all mushed together in different kinds of emotions and different transitions, right? Graduations are about finishing something because you graduate. It's very emotional for you, for the people who love you and care about you, for the school, and of course, it's also about starting something because typically you would get a job or go to graduate school or do something else during this time period. Graduations, who knew? Who knows? But traditionally, this is what would happen. And so I figured it might be a nice fit for beginnings and endings to talk about not only graduations, but also this week's Torah portion, Vayechi, which means, and he lived. It's the last Torah portion in the book of Genesis. And I'll remind you that this is a fascinating book in general, because think all the way back, we started the book with the creation story, and we're ending the book with Joseph and his brothers in Egypt. So it is a huge span of time that happens in this one book of the Torah for us, and it is a big ending for us, and perhaps a beginning also. And so the Torah portion is full of these endings and these beginnings. Jacob, by the way, is still alive. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, he's still alive. He has moved to Egypt. He is living there now with his whole family. They essentially moved because Joseph, his son, is the viceroy, let's say, of Egypt. And it's just a beautiful moment where he kind of blesses his sons. Jacob blesses his sons. Some might call them not blessings. Sometimes they were a little rough. Like sometimes they were judgments. Sometimes they were, he compared one of his kids to a serpent, one of his kids to a ravenous wolf, one of them to a lion. It's a complicated section. But at that moment, though, Jacob sort of recognizes the complexity of life and this complexity of what transition is, maybe the pomp and circumstance of this moment. You can imagine sort of if this music existed in the biblical times, it'd be this underpinning of this whole book would have pomp and circumstance kind of on repeat over and over and over. And so there's this interesting part that actually says that I want to quote it to you. It's right from the Torah. It says, "And when Jacob finished commanding his sons, he gathered up his feet into his bed and expired, and he was gathered to his people." So the word that's used there, expired, it doesn't say that he died, which is very interesting. And so a lot of commentary picks up on that and says, you know what? It doesn't say he dies. And the rabbis are usually, they're mystical, and they clearly look at things in a lot of different ways. But they're also very practical, the rabbis of the time who wrote all of our texts for us. And so it says he didn't die. And so for them, he didn't die. And so for them, it picks up on this idea of how there's an interesting cycle of life where, according to them, things don't really ever end. There's really no ending. I mean, really only death is an ending, but that's also a little more complicated because we're also carried on by the love, the memories, the stories of the people who we're connected to. And so when we look at our lives, there are actually very few real endings, right? If we think about our relationships between friends and family and partners, they never really truly end. The experiences that we share with them, the impact they make on our lives, we carry that on and on and on, no matter where we are in our lives. The impact we have with our friends or our family from a time when we were very young, or a time in our lives that's current, that's happening right now. It's carried with us. It's almost like if you have like a favorite book, like everyone if we were in the congregation, I have a chance to, like, you know, reach out and say, okay, you tell me what's your favorite book, right? Or one of your favorite reads recently, and it sticks with you. There's a reason that even when you finish that book, the content of that book sits with you for a very long time, and maybe forever. Maybe a really good movie. So it's the tradition at the Keller household, on Erev New Year's Eve. We always watch The Princess Bride. It is it's Erev New Year's. It's our thing. We watch The Princess Bride. So we watched that last night, and you know what? It's still funny and still fabulous. It's my favorite movie of all time, and it just sticks with you. At least in my house, or I've forced my children to watch it. So it's really only the question of death. Is that the final? Is that the only really time that we don't sort of carry on? And again, even if it is that physical sense, we carry with us the life of our loved one within us also. And so the last portion in the book of Genesis provides us with a lesson of how we should respond to those many perceived endings in our lives. It is a description, and I think it's a command that we're receiving from the text. We should feel strengthened from our experiences. We should be strong in order to return again. And also clearly, look, there's no mistake that the Torah portion of Vayechi, that the fact that this book of the Torah ends right around the time that we also change our secular New Year. So it's the first day of a new year, where we're also reflecting back. We're also bringing things forward. There is this pomp and circumstance sort of in our transition also. Some people, many people, most people perhaps had a very, very difficult 2020. Maybe some people had a little bit of a lighter 2020. No one can judge anyone's personal experience, but certainly globally, it has been very complicated for all of us, with the pandemic, reaching every corner of the whole world. But these are part of our transitions, right? These are so now we have to transition into 2021, and we're going to carry with us pieces of 2020. And so when we look at endings, the complexity they bring up for us, the finality they appear to possibly play in our lives, we should remember that they are not real endings, that they're always with us, they're empowering us, and they're teaching us. And so I'm kind of going to ask everyone, at least for the next couple of weeks, as we enter this new, maybe hopeful 2021, that the tune of pomp and circumstance sort of carries us, this graduation for us. Maybe we're not going to wear caps and gowns and tassels, although you're welcome to. If you do, by the way, please send us a photo. But it's these moments where we get to really transition, and I think that the Torah gives us this moment. And perhaps the most important thing, and this is what I want to end with my little chat with you, is that when we end the book of Torah, we always say the same words, and that is chazak, chazak v'nitchazek, which is with strength and strength may we be strengthened. And so I don't think it's a mistake, by the way, that's how we end each book. And so I wish for all of you a very sweet and happy and healthy start to our secular year of 2021. Also carrying with us Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Becca, Rachel, and Leah, from this book of this book of Genesis into our next book of Shmot, into our next book of Exodus, and that we do so with lots of strength in our lives. Shabbat Shalom. We are going to now think of those in our community, share some names of those in our community who are in need of healing, physical, emotional, or spiritual healing. I will share some names with you here from Congregation B'nai Israel, but if there's a name you would like to add, into our YouTube chat, please feel free to add their names at this time. We think of Al Jacobson, Addison Sullivan, Ali Patrides, Andrea Drucker, Anthony Di Giantommaso, Arnold Plotsky, Arnold Pustelnik, Barbara Pollock, Barbara Seidman, Barry Mincer, Bernard Lipsitz, Robbie Ross, Carol and Elliot Porowich, Carol Leader, Chana Bat David, Charlotte Kammer, Chava Leah Bat Esther, Claire Weiss, Craig Nissenwitz, Daria Levin, David Hornstein, David Schwartz, David Weinacht, David Winterfeld, Denise Curry-Lowe, Dr. Dennis Penzel, Diraj Nayal, Diane Spiro, Don Rubin, Eric Smith, Gary Bandel, Gloria Bernstein, Gloria Plotsky, Glennis Lowe, Harry Blecker, Heshi Glatz, Ina Stanley, Ira Dembro, Ira Kafka, Jacqueline Gould, James Boudouin, Jay Siskin, JC Balor, Jennifer Kirsten Curry, John Zinn, Jordan Stein, Karen Coles, Catherine Carley, Lauren Kaplan, Marcy Sherrill, Margot Engel, Marilyn Mincer, Marlene Leichter, Martin Springer, Marty Blecker, Melissa Schaffner, Michael Linder, Michael Rogers, Morris Ginsburg, Naomi Kirstein, Nicole McKevitt, Norma Friel, Paulette Howard, Rachel Glatt, Richard Levine, Robert Grande, Robert Solomon, Roberta Katz, Ronald Friedman, Rana Young, Ronnie Horn, Sarah Greenberg, Shirley Kafka, Stephen Gilbert, Stephen Kirstein, Swellen Wexler, Tammy Werner, Tripp Ravenfeld, Wendy Paskin, Valerie Levin Franklin, Zoe Latham. To those, again, we add any names that you guys have added to anyone out there in our congregation virtually that have added your names to the YouTube. Misha Berach, if you'd like to follow along, is on page 253.
Misheberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Neimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Couple of quick announcements for you all on this fine Shabbat evening. First of all, Our auction, our 36th anniversary auction, will be happening on February 4th. So stay tuned for lots of cool info on that. All of those proceeds are going to go towards our 2020 relief fund, and it's going to be really, really dynamic. Cantor Muchnick and I figured out a way virtually to do an acrobatic act. So it's going to be really fascinating. It's going to be really great. Rabbi Cohen does a like a trapeze thing. So I don't want to take away from that, but Cantor Muchnick and myself, we figured out a way to do it virtually. It's going to be epic. Is the word I would use. I would use the word epic.
I would use the word catastrophic, but epic is another way to put it.
Great. Look. You have your view of what it's going to be, and I have my view of how it's going to go. So don't forget that there's information already on our website, cbiboca.org, for our auction. Also on our website, a little free pantry. If you don't know what that is, you should check it out. They're all over town, but we have one particularly right by Ebenezer Baptist Church, but you don't have to even go down there if you don't want to. We have every Monday from 9:30 to 10:30. If you want to come to the admin circle and drop off some food, we will make sure that it gets there. So that's really fabulous. Also, and lastly, Purim is not that far away. Woohoo! So Erev Purim is going to be February 25th, but there'll be some other things leading up to it also. So not only is there going to be some kind of a fabulous virtual spiel, but brought to you by Cantor Muchnick, but we also are going to be doing some other cool stuff. So stay tuned for that as well. Again, 10 a.m. Markovsky, Lucas, bar mitzvah.
Lucas, this is my bar mitzvah Torah portion.
Oh, wow. Really? Vaychi? Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That's nice.
35 years ago.
You should have muted right then. You should. We heard you. Did you know that we heard you? Yeah. So, and then at 9 a.m. Torah study with Rabbi Cohen. I think Cantor Muchnick also. 9 o'clock. Cantor, Sarah, and myself will be at the Markovskys 10 o'clock. So those are all the announcements that we have for you. This evening, we are going to continue with Aleinu. Aleinu can be found on page 282. And then again, if you wish to stand, please do so. If not, you can remain seated. 282.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו echad. Your mom just saved your life there, Lucas. You almost went up in flames.
Watch that fire. That fire's hot. Yeah. That's yeah. That's good. Nice.
Hot.
So we are going to continue with the concluding parts of our service, and we are going to transition momentarily to Kaddish Yatom, to Mourner's Kaddish. So we mourn the loss of Laura Scher, mother of our member Sandy Schwab. We don't have any funeral arrangements for you at the moment, but we will. Wanted to just to let you know. So we are thinking of Sandy and Tad and to the whole Schwab family right now. Also, in the period of Shiva, the immediate 7-day mourning period, we think of Jacob Batzi, and in the period of Shloshim, the period of 30-day mourning, we think of Abraham Portnoy and Elizabeth Solomon. And our yortzites that occur this week: Adolf Edelman, Esther Feldman, Leo Friedman, Gustavo Gerstel, Anna Himmelblau, Sander Howard, Frida Jacobson, Beverly Cantor, Miriam Kopita, Ruth Kozak, Shirley Kunin, Raymond Layson, David Linder, Frederick Malter, Sari Muller, Jay Ring, Michael Roberts, Stephen M. Rothenberg, Irving Siegel, Gertrude Sonnenstein, Howard Springer, Leon Tell, Rose Zoll, Max Zuckerman. To those names, we had any name that you would like to add at this time, please, if you wish, add their names into our YouTube stream. Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 294. Yitkadal v'kadash shmei rabbah, b'alma divrach cheruteh v'amlich malchuteh, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chay dechol beit Yisrael, b'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. יהא שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולמאה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי לקודשה בריחו לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel. As together we say, Amen. Before we officially conclude our service, we're going to do a little motzi with the Markovskis. Markovsky motzi in continued celebration of Bar Mitzvah tomorrow. All right, guys, unmute. All right, okay. Go ahead. Yep, go ahead.
Ready? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Give us some.
Tear it apart. Throw some here. We are going to conclude our service today with Oseh Shalom. Is that correct, Cantor Muchnick?
It is.
Okay, we conclude with Oseh Shalom on this fine Shabbat.
Oseh Shalom, Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh Shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom, shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru Amen. Yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Amen. Oseh shalom, shalom ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Adonai oz la'amo yiten. Adonai varech et amo v'shalom. May God give strength unto our people. Continue to bless us with hope and strength and love and peace and lots of sweetness in this secular year of 2021. And Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.